Hey all you horror fans and horror geeks, welcome to the Chop Block, the only block where the horror community can come together to sit back, relax, and enjoy the genre. I'm your host, Ashton Austin, and I hope you'll chill with me as I dive into cinema's most unique genre, providing screams and scares for decades. So to all my final boys and of course my final girls, grab your coat hangers, grab your knives, and of course your guns. Because I hate to be the one to tell you this, but you're next on the Chop Block. Well, wow, I have the hiccups. Welcome back to the Chop Block. Today, we are ranking the Terrifier movies via tier list. I've watched all 3 Terrifier films. I loved all 3 Terrifier films. Do I have a direct ranking of them? Yes, I do. Did I struggle to find this ranking? Not particularly. Let's just dive into it before I premeditatedly start. For this tier list, I will not be including the Ninth Circle, All Hallow Eves, or this other poster that says Terrifier, because I only want to do the current canon Terrifier. To put it in easier terms, we're only doing films where David Howard Thornton plays Art, which is Terrifier 1, Terrifier 2, Terrifier 3. The tiers, oh my god. The tiers consist of top of the line, really good, meh, never watching again, and not watched. And starting with Terrifier 1, I'm putting it in meh. I had a thrill. There was a thrill and there was a rush when I watched Terrifier 1. Just from not seeing that level of violence, that level of graphicness often on screen, because I'm not a big grindhouse, not a big gore movie watcher. But I watched Terrifier for the love of the channel, for the love of the game, for the request, and I introduced myself to Art the Clown, and I was hooked. I will admit. David Howard Thornton pulls through a lot for the first Terrifier. I think it has a charming cast. It's not a prestige cast, but it's a charming cast. I think the people who appeared in Terrifier 1 played their roles, and they played it very, very well. I think they appealed to audiences enough for a few moments for us to be like, damn. For us to be like, damn, Art, why you had to do him like that? Where it falls off is we drop in with Tara and Dawn. We don't know where they're coming from. They're in some spot. Streets are completely empty. He's in the back alley. Dawn antagonizes Arthur. Y'all know the rest. I think that's where it begins where you begin to have to break down on Terrifier 1. I mean, it's got a paper-thin plot. It's got a paper-thin plot. Like a paper-thin plot. This is not a lie. I think for where Damien Leone was going, Terrifier 1 will be redeemed once it's a full franchise. But for people who just saw Terrifier 1, and that was it for a large majority of time, where you're confused as hell. You're not confused, but you're not necessarily satisfied. I mean, for Christ's sake, Art came back at the end and that was it. So already we've got a shot in the head, and you immediately identify that Art the Clown is now going to be supernatural, but you have not identified any supernatural elements prior to this. We like maybe some further backstory on why Dawn and Tara. We like some further backstory on, did he kill anybody else prior to this? It all just feels random, but it's enjoyable random in my opinion. It's very enjoyable random. Don't get me wrong. I think David Howard Thornton gives an inspired performance, which really, in my opinion, fuels this franchise. I know a lot of my words are coming off cut off because I got the hiccups, but we're getting through this. David Howard Thornton fuels this franchise, and I think all the actresses and actors from Terrifier 1, in my opinion, they helped to leave a mark with that film, especially Catherine portraying Dawn. I can't remember her name, who portrayed Tara, and you've got Samantha who portrayed Victoria, who actually came back to be a pretty important character and a pretty memorable character by the time we got to T3. So, Terrifier 1 is a very good introduction to this franchise. And I think that's where a lot of people get confused when you often talk about iconic horror franchises or any franchises to that nature. You're like, well, damn, if it's a franchise, the first film is a goddamn home run. But that's not always the case, even in my opinion, with Friday the 13th. If I just can dibble and dabble over there real quick. The first Friday the 13th is boring as hell, and I don't care what you say. It's interesting at the end, but it's boring as hell. At least Halloween consistently kept Michael creeping, Loomis building tension, little fun things, little plot points that built up to this spectacular third act that really sent the first Halloween home. See, the third act sent the first Friday the 13th home. And as far as Terrifier goes, well, it's kind of from the jump, start to finish. It's just not that impressive, but it's enjoyable. And maybe if I got time, I'm coming back to see it. Now, when we talk about Terrifier 2 goes in top of the line. Terrifier 2 felt like a goddamn movie, and I enjoyed it. Now, Damien Leone, he could use somebody next to him. Sometimes, it's 2 hours, but sometimes scenes go on for too long in Terrifier 2. But outside of that, Terrifier 2 is really, really good. It's very fresh. Sienna, played by Lauren Rivera, is absolutely perfect. She's brilliant. She feels like the next final girl to hit the forefront. She was written to perfection. She is played so emphatically, but also, letting it be known she's not a pushover. She's played just so elegantly and perfectly by Lauren Rivera. And I think Sienna's addition is what really puts Terrifier 2 over the top. Sorry, Dawn. Sorry, Tara. Sorry, Vicky. But none of your characters come close to that of Miss Sienna Shaw. She is a spectacular final girl in all of horror, in my opinion. I think she's made a mark. I think from the beginning, see, what I like about Terrifier 2 is from the beginning, with little things as the bedroom fire, with little things of the dreams of the clown cafe. From the beginning, we know there is something more to Sienna. That's why by the end, when she's the warrior and all of that stuff, it should not shock you, because from the beginning, Terrifier 2 is building up to that. When you go outside of Sienna, Elliot playing Jonathan, spectacular. You just have better characters. Allie, Brooke, Mrs. Shaw, very one of the more complex characters of the Terrifier franchise, in my opinion. It's kind of hard to dive into Mrs. Shaw. There's so many things there. The little girl in pale, or the little pale girl. I can't remember what her official title was, but I think it's the little pale girl. She's a good addition. And then, of course, Art the Clown, Mr. David Howard Thornton. David he was already comfortable in the first one, but he has kicked his feet up in this one. David is killing it from the moment action is screamed. I mean, David is truly a force in Terrifier 2. Every scene he steals. He knows how to be sinister. He knows how to have the audience fearing him. He knows how to have the audience laughing at him. He just knows how to have the audience. He constantly has the audience in his grasp. There is nobody on screen that has the audience more than David Howard Thornton when he's on screen. And I mean, Damien Leone was also a big step up. I mean, the kill sequences in Terrifier 2 are just amazing. The bedroom scene is, of course, the most iconic scene in the film. I really enjoyed Brooke's death. Mrs. Shaw, her death was very emotional. See, it's the writing now, it's very, you're putting emotional anchors, you're putting things into the film. She talks to Sienna, they patch some things up. She goes out in the garage, Art blows her damn brains off with a double barrel shotgun. That's filmmaking. That's filmmaking right there. That's what I want, Mr. Leone. I want you to have me like, oh, damn, it's sad to see this mother and daughter relationship become so strained because of, life being life, the natural cycle of life. Unfortunately, all parents do not all children do not outlive their parents. And that was the case here. Was it Barbara? We'll call her Barbara. If it's not Barbara, that's going to be embarrassing. But you see her and, you think maybe her and Sienna make progress, and then boom, Damien Leone reminds you that this is a horror movie. And he blows her goddamn brains out with a shotgun. And no, of course it wasn't literally Damien, it was David, aka Art. But you see what I mean. And the final thing you have to talk about is the third act. It's a brutal third act. It's a draining third act. It's long. But it's effective. I think Terrifier 2's third act is one of the better ones I've seen in a modern day horror movie in a very long time. Constantly are we looking for prestige. Constantly are we looking for Oscars. Constantly are we looking for the twist of the century in these third acts. Not Terrifier 2. It goes back to basic. It goes back to form. It lets the carnage unleash. It allows the final girl to have the circuit. And it's just brutal. It's just brilliant. It's just an exciting standoff of something audiences could get used to, which is Sienna versus Art. And that brings me to Terrifier 3, Damien Leone's Christmas slasher. It's going in really good. Terrifier 3 is a really good film from start to finish. From the moment it begins, it brings you into the Christmas mood. There are children there. You know what type of film you're watching. The tension is there from the very first second, in my opinion. I think when a horror film starts with a very little kid in frame, you're like, oh shit. No, not this poor baby. That's how you're like. I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but me myself, I care for children. So I'm thinking, oh no, not this poor child, not this poor baby. That's how I'm thinking. I can't speak for everyone though. But it opens up with, Julia and Timmy. Those are the children in the home along with the parents. Julia hears Santa Art on the roof. Mom shakes it off. Mom is happy that she's hearing things on the roof. Hey, heck, Mom is getting the Santa Claus experience without having to do anything. The mom sees the door open. She thinks it was the dad, and the door's just been open like that for the longest, I don't know, we don't know the work schedule, it's a typical Terrifier movie. We don't even know these people. We get no explanation into them. This is just Art's opening scene. I don't mind this. A lot of people seem to mind this at some time, but I don't mind this because there's an explanation here at some times. Art is our protagonist right now. We are with Art, okay? We are with Art. We're not with Sienna because she has not been introduced. So we are with Art. People have to understand that sometimes when watching a horror movie. You just can't thrust the final girl in. It's like, dang, let me scare and hook the audiences first. You get Sidney Prescott after the chilling, iconic opening phone call. You get Laurie Strode after whatever opening happens. Laurie Strode / Jamie Lloyd or whoever after whatever the opening is. You get Nancy Thompson after. You get, and just like in Terrifier 2, you get Sienna after the opening. I'm trying to remember. Doc. It was Doc. And the laundromat. So yeah, you get Sienna after the audience has been hooked. So that's what happens here. Art goes on a spree in his house, his first victim being a little boy named Timmy. We know it's Timmy because we saw the little girl walk in the room. Damien Leone does a great job of showing us the layout of the house, showing us everyone in the house, and then allowing Art to come in and kind of just be a fox in the hen house. He murders everyone. He murders everyone. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He murders the shit out of everyone I reacted to. He murders everyone. And we then cut to 5 years later, 5 years prior. I can't remember all the specifics in the timeline of Terrifier 3. But we cut to the current day where we're with Sienna and she's being released. She's being picked up by her aunt's husband, her Uncle Greg. She goes to her aunt's house. She runs into her little cousin. They've got history, Gabby, all that good stuff, just establishing new emotional relationships for Sienna. Jonathan's away at college. Meanwhile, Art is doing his thing, getting himself ready, killing contractors, breaking Vicky out of the asylum, getting himself a new costume through an innocent trick-or-treater on the subway. So Art's doing his thing across town, and it's a very festive film. Art puts a lot of time into being festive himself. He has a bar scene where he murders three men, one including a man in a Santa Claus costume. He would then go to the mall at the same time Sienna was there. Sienna would swear she saw him and she'd tell Jonathan. Jonathan's not believing it. He's calling bull. So Sienna goes back to the Terrifier to get her sword. Meanwhile, in that mall, this is where Damien Leone has caused the most controversy for Terrifier 3. In that mall, Art sets up shop as Santa. He surprises kids. He hands stuff out. And then he kills all the kids. He doesn't slash them. We don't see it. But he had bombs. And he kills all the kids. And listen. I understand anyone not wanting to see gory violence inflicted on children on screen, right? But the holier than thou things when it comes to Terrifier 3 is bullshit. It's bullshit, right? Because if you watch horror, you're not holier than thou. What makes a person less important? Because they're not a little kid? You watch death anyway. You're watching horror on this screen. Damien Leone is pushing barriers. Damien Leone has the right, if he wants to assemble the extras needed to write that specific scene into his film, because it is not just a scene just to be there, just to say, I'm evil as hell, I kill kids on screen. It's a scene to show. Art is taking it there. Art doesn't have a restriction. Art is a true machine of killing. That is what he's showing. The kids aren't in there for no reason. They are in there to develop Art the Clown's character more. So I can never insult Leone for his decision to kill children in the movie, if that is where you wanted to show Art being at, because it definitely made me take him a lot more seriously the rest of the film after I saw it. Okay. So Terrifier 3 caught a lot of controversy for that. But then finally there's the third act. It takes place in the aunt's house. The aunt is killed in a brutal way. The uncle's already dead, and the most important plot point is we find out Art killed Jonathan back at his college when he most likely would have ran into and killed Greg as well. What was he doing at that college, you may ask? He was delivering the film its most iconic kill, which would be Mia and her boyfriend, who I didn't know his name, Jonathan's roommate. He'd walk into the bathrooms with a chainsaw, and the rest would be history. Mia was extremely obsessed with Art the Clown, so it's kind of like it's kind of like karma for maybe, being an inconsiderate dickhead, constantly glorifying someone's trauma. So, she was obsessed with Art. She met Art. That was the last person she ever saw alive. But back on track, we get the reveal that the gross head sitting on the mantle or sitting on whatever that was is Jonathan. Vicky puts the glasses on him and all that stuff. Sienna, she freaks she just flips the out. She gets a sword. When she gets free, she takes care of Vicky handily. Her and Arthur get into it. Arthur gets away, opens the portal to, I don't know, hell. And Gabby gets drugged down, and that's the end of Terrifier 3. And we see Art on the bus. And that's it. And that's why I have it in really good, just because Terrifier 3, like Terrifier 1, leaves a lot to be desired as far as the plot goes and the plot device is. Now, Damien Leone has promised that in the first 15 minutes of Terrifier 4, we'll get Art's backstory or origin for him or anything, because at some point the mystery becomes too much. It starts to make your film feel like it's plotless. At some point, with all the chaos that happens, especially at the end of Terrifier 3, well, I don't know what the is going on. Cool special effects, but I don't know what's going on, Dane. I don't know what's going on. How is he opening portals? How is this happening? How is that happening? I don't know what's going on. So it's hard. It's hard to really fall in love with Terrifier 3 just for that reason. But I do love Terrifier 3 as I love the entire Terrifier franchise. So that's my ranking. Terrifier 2, Terrifier 3, and Terrifier. If you guys agree with my rankings, let me know down in the comments. Let me know your rankings down in the comments. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys will come back to chill with me again. And I'll see you guys next time.